Right, so welcome to our Dev Spotlight session with Daniel. With me as well is John. This is Follow Zambia. Be a community that helps local developers in Zambia grow, as well as bringing developers together. We're having a Dev Spotlight session where we'll learn more about our local developers. For this session, we'll be learning a bit about Daniel. With me, joining me in learning more about Daniel is John. So I'll start with John. Maybe if you can just give a quick introduction to our listeners.
Thank you very much, Wilfred, for this great opportunity. I'm John Sonika, currently student of IT at your University of Lusaka, and working also at the same solution. I'm a dev, actually currently trying to learn UI UX because I would like to have more interaction with users and bring products that are useful to people. That's a bit of me.
All right, sweet. And Daniel, if you can just give us a quick introduction.
Okay, my name is Daniel Andu, software developer by profession. Currently working with Broadreach, not a student. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. Sweet. All right, so thanks again, John and Daniel. So for this spotlight session, we'll just be asking a few questions to Daniel to learn more about him and his experience as a developer. So let's dive in. Daniel, could you tell us a bit about yourself before you got into the tech industry?
Okay, so the Daniel in school never thought of doing computer science, okay? So the Daniel back then, of course, I was interested in gadgets and changing, those back in the day when Nokia was still happening, like I knew all those to my N series, E series and stuff, but it wasn't really something I wanted to do professionally. I always looked at myself as being a doctor. I was in the quiz team. I was participating in Olympiads. Yeah, it was just the normal science stuff. And the only thing I got from, the joy that I got from devices was downloading games. I remember the first time I saw a 3D game was on is it a Nokia Music Express? Those ones could like put proper 3D games, and that was fascinating, but I never really was interested in anything about games and developing until I finished my grade 12, and I remember there was nothing to do at home, and I was playing Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005, day in, day out. You have to buy your car out from the thing with the pound and stuff like that. And I think that's where I started thinking about, okay, how do these guys really do it? And yeah, I think that's where the interest started. And I think it fully developed when I didn't make it to go to med school, and I had to choose either physics or computer science. And I looked at my strengths, I looked at my performance in class, and I thought, I usually perform well in physics or computer science, but physics perceived view people fail. So let me go to computer science because there's no mathematics. Yeah, and I think that's where now the interest into tech started with exposure to C++. Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel, I can see that probably you find yourself being in tech by a hazard.
Of course.
It's interesting. Interesting enough, and I'm happy that you joined the tech industry rather than being a doctor. Okay, Daniel.
Yeah.
My question for you today would be the first one would be, what is your tech stack like?
Okay. How I started.
Yes.
So I'll continue from where I left. Um,
Yes.
I get to the Copperfield University, flunk my first year, go into computer science, find this extremely boring programming language called C++. Only looking at the black screen and pressing, using code blocks, terminating a program using, is it Control C? I've forgotten, Control V or something. And I'm wondering, like, okay, can I make WhatsApp with such things? Is this how they make it? Or can I view the website from this? It was a tough year. A lot of dozing in class, a lot of failing quizzes. But yeah, so fast forward, second year is done. I need to do attachments as per university requirements. And I got an internship with the Copperfield University, DICT, that's Department of ICT. And there I had a little brush with CSS, simple HTML, and it wasn't very exciting because I really didn't learn at the pace I wanted to until I think the best internship I had in my experience was when I went to Mopani. So my uncle managed to fix me up something, and I went there, and the guys were passionate. I've never seen people who are passionate like that, guys. Those guys were passionate. They showed me around ASP.NET, view bags. I didn't even know them. They told me, they were explaining jargons like MVC, model view controller. Here you put the business. Here you put the shan. I wasn't getting it. I was just excited to see a table show and I could type stuff and stuff could be saved. And I figured at that point that if I wanted to become better in this field, I had to interact with people who know things. And I remember there was a senior of ours in the society, the computer society, Lusa. He works for Zanaco now. He was the PHP guru at that point. Like his whole intake, they feared you. And I looked at PHP, guys. It wasn't nice. It didn't look nice. The whole, you open that, question mark, PHP. Yeah, it didn't make sense. So yeah, those were my early brushes in tech. And yeah, the internship basically helped me get set up. Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Interesting.
Yeah, very, very interesting. First years into the tech industry, you got some good experience starting on.
Yeah.
So cool. So Daniel, could you share a little bit about what a typical day like is for you right now as a software developer at Broadreach?
Okay, so as you know, if you don't know, I'll explain. So Broadreach is into health management system. So there, what we do is building health systems, management systems. And because of that, we are supposed to show an example because, I mean, we don't want any of our staff to get sick from COVID, etc. So we have been working, I've been working from home since I joined the company. That's 3 months. So my typical day is, my work schedule starts from 9 hours till, should be till 18, something like that. So at 9 hours, I'll turn on my laptop, prepare for my daily Scrum meeting at 9:30. The whole team will be there. We'll share our progress reports, what I have been doing, what I'm stuck on, what I plan to do, who I need to talk to about a particular input for me to complete a task. And by 10 hours, we should have been done. And after that, now you start working on your tasks. And 13 hours, maybe I'll break off, maybe I'll sleep, or maybe go bath, or maybe finish up a tutorial I'm watching on something. And when it's 14 hours, I get back to the work. So I don't know if you would want me to maybe talk about the specific technologies maybe I'm working on, or an example of a task or something like that.
I think you've answered that one. There is a follow-up question, I think, more into like the tech side of it, which I'm sure
Yeah.
we'll get into.
Yeah, our next question for you, Daniel, is what is your tech stack like?
Okay.
Your tech stack, how is it like?
So our tech stack, I was very impressed with it because it's very modern. It's basically the future of software development, especially when we're talking about web-based applications. So right now, the software we're building is running the latest tech. So we have React.js for the front end. We have Kotlin for the back end, which is the API etc. And for the DB, we are using PostgreSQL. This is, I'm watching right now, I'm watching a Udemy tutorial. I'm like on section 11 or something on Postgre, and I'm getting why Postgre is a better option compared to MySQL, especially the MySQL we know from PHP admin. Yeah. So this is the next gen of the software. So before that, the software was in C#, and for the DB, they were using MS SQL. So this was for the legacy system. So I haven't touched, I know a bit of C#, I know a lot of MS SQL because of where I worked before, that's CBU. So I know a bit of this, but I'm kind of excited to learn React. React is interesting. Too many tutorials. I don't even know what to follow now, and it's messed up, guys. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Today a lot of tech companies, they are trying to run from C# and all those old languages and use the modern ones. That's really good, and I'm happy for you that you're learning React. Probably in the next 1 month, I will join you in that path.
Sure.
Yeah, the next question for you is what do you do outside of your coding or outside of work? What's Daniel up to when he's not on the laptop?
So I'm not a very typical software developer because I have a lot of interest away from my profession. Like, guys, if I could make money from my hobbies, guys, I'll do my hobbies, which is definitely not into tech, because I think I find happiness in doing social activities. Like, maybe, for instance, I'm in an all girls group about menstrual health and stuff. So it excites me because I'm looking at this other paradigm of life. If I'm not doing that, I'm either at church, spending a day at church with friends, participating in church activities. Before I finished my school, I was very engraved into poetry. I used to be like the poetry leader at CBU for our church, and that at least helped me kind of, can I say, not get fatigued with all the work I was getting from class, from internship, from being president of the Computer Society. I think it helped a lot, and I would suggest to most devs to find something away from programming that they can dedicate their time to. I know it's tempting to want to learn the latest stack out there. Oh, I want to be a mean stack developer or full stack. I know we need to talk. I'm not happy about people who talk about front end, front end dev, back end, full stack. All these things came because of JavaScript frameworks. Me coming from a PHP background, there's nothing like front end, back end. PHP developers do everything. You just throw in the bootstrap, connect your form to the PHP stuff. So yeah, basically you get to do everything. So yeah, I love. Aside that, my which I would love to do is have a mini garden. I've been planning to buy some office plants, like for my table and stuff. But the issue is that sometimes work needs me to go for extended periods of time away from home. So I'm scared that they will just wither and die. So yeah, but yeah, I love things to do with nature. Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. A lot of developers today, what they do is just coding, coding. They don't even have a social life. Some even have problems in their marriages currently, which they can't solve because it's always coding, coding. That's a good one. And
Yeah.
you have taught me something. From today, I will start looking for something else to do, very
And
far
guys,
from
go to the
coding.
gym. Go to the gym, guys. Developers of the worst physical health ever. You guys can't run. You guys can't do much.
Definitely, I will find a sport. So I will find a sport where I can be releasing my stress.
Yeah, sure.
All right, cool. So the next question for you, Daniel, is tell us if you've ever had or if you do have any horror stories or developer horror stories from the past. If you've ever, for example, dropped a production DB, yeah,
Ah, okay.
a bug into production and cost the company millions of kwacha. I would like to hear it.
I think the closest I've been, if you're not careful, Git can mess you up. Version control can mess you up. And I didn't know how to use it the first time I got to. I'd always used it from when I started working at .com, but it was a small team. So you didn't have issues of conflict, etc. When I moved to CBU, working on the Tax Online ZRA project, we were from the CBU side were like 30 developers. From ZRA, there were about maybe 10 to 20. So maybe the team was about 50 plus or minus. I can't just remember well, but it required, there were a lot of changes happening. So you may pull dev, development, or master. You want to push your changes, maybe the file you're working on or you are assigned to work on, someone also is touching it. So you find that both of you have committed and pushed. And when it's time for merging, you have to resolve a conflict. I didn't know what a conflict was. I just, okay, from the normal lingo, conflict, okay, there's something not way. But I tried resolving it on my own. The first time I messed up things, guys. I changed people's files. I accepted things I was not, I don't know, it was messed up. I had to delete branches, like I had to make 3 branches for the same thing. I had to look for files. I had to manually copy stuff. It was a very, very weird experience I had. Thank God it didn't have too much impact, though. Yeah, people complain on the team, oh, what have you done, and stuff like that. And I think the other one that was close to that was, production things are just weird. You fix something on maybe on the test server, it works. It goes into production, and the next thing I'm being CC'd in a mail with like all the bosses and my boss. And I'm like, what? Because the time I was with CBU, I was working on the certificates that come out from the ZRI system, the tax online system. So maybe you do your VAT, etc. So there's certain queries you make, checking for certain conditions, because you don't know all the possible conditions. And I didn't make those, where someone just tells you there's a bug, fix it. You fix that, and then another bug, yeah. So that had to be fixed like ASAP, ASAP, ASAP. Yeah. So yeah, those are a few times that things have been scary, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
The next question for you was or is, what do you think has been your greatest achievements in your tech journey so far?
That one is kind of difficult. I think for me, I haven't achieved it yet. I hope you can get me. I hope you can get me. Okay. So for me, the ultimate goal of whatever I'm doing is if I could have an impact on people. For me, I think I enjoy uh, doing these kind of meetups where you teach each other new things. Right now, I'm mentoring some students from UNZA in development. So I think I'm getting to that place where I'll be a bit happy or a bit happier. For me, I've never really been a fan of, I know this stack, I know this Shan. I don't consider that as an achievement, because the way jQuery was famous back then and now is like no longer a part of the big guys. We have now React, Node, we have Next.js. So if you get stuck up with the past, I think it becomes a problem, because you really won't grow outside that comfort zone. Yeah.
That is very well nailed. Most of developers today, we come up with some target to say, no, I want to finish that one day course in React, and funny enough, before you finish the course, you just hear that React is no longer a good framework. It's no longer a good framework, and then you start thinking about the time you've been losing, studying, all that. But having some impact in people, I would encourage that one also. That's well said.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. All right. Next question for you, Daniel, is what advice would you give a young developer starting their developer career or developer journey?
Most people that I know that are into tech either did computer science or they taught themselves, right? The ones who did computer science, most of them, like I shared my story, we just fell in. We didn't plan to be in it, right? And if you're going to be in that category of where you fall into something that you didn't plan around, it becomes boring. I didn't like it. But what helped me was I started getting myself involved in the society that I was in. I became a committee member, etc. And I became active, engaging people from industry, going for trips, organizing those things. And I started falling in love with this thing, because I made sure that I would spend a lot of time trying to figure out what it is, how I can easily maybe get to do stuff, etc. And I discovered that there are levels in computer science or in software development, right? You start with maybe fixing a computer, installing Windows, cracking it, and you're like, okay, this is interesting. Next part, now you want to build a program. So you go through those levels. So that's the first perspective. The other perspective is where you just love it. There are some people who just start loving tech and they're building stuff. They don't even have They're not even doing computer science. They don't even plan to do computer science, but they just love tech. And for those, it's a bit easier. So I'll try to speak. So when you're starting out as a developer, what you want to do is find a community that is active, find people that are willing to teach, and people that are passionate. I think the attitude we have towards whatever we learn in life comes from how we were taught at first. If you hate programming, probably the person who was teaching you was boring or they didn't have passion. And you want to find a mentor who's passionate. And you want to, it's difficult to know which tool to use, but the rule of thumb that I always use is pick the one that has a good track record. For instance, my first language to learn that got me a job was PHP. And other people start with Java. I admire people who start with Java because it's easy to get into that whole object-oriented arrangement. PHP is not so much object-oriented. It's just now that it's being object-oriented through maybe frameworks like CodeIgniter or Laravel. That's when you feel that object-oriented arrangement. So try to look for languages that have lasted the test of time, that are popular. For those who are new to tech, I can give you examples of languages. PHP is one of them. PHP, I think, is 1030 this year or something. There's Java. The difference in years isn't too much between PHP and Java. Then you can go C#, you can go, Kotlin is new, but it has tremendous support and it's like the next big thing. What else? ASP.NET. So if you can learn these older languages, I forgot Python. I shouldn't have said it. Python, very important. Learn Python. If you're starting out, I would prefer you start with Python, then switch to other languages. Yeah.
Before we move on to the next question, on the previous one, I have a question also for you. You know, being at university, we have a lot of courses, you know, there's a lot of pressure, assignments, and so on and so on. What is your advice to students who are thinking spending time in communities is a waste of time? They will just be focusing on school, hoping that when they graduate, they will learn everything from their place of work.
Okay, I think it's a good approach, considering the kind of environment we're in. We're still behind in Zambia. We're like I think we're like 20 years behind from everyone in terms of tech advancement. I don't mean, of course, in terms of innovation, but I mean also the industry itself. In Zambia, you can't get a job without a paper as a developer. You can. There are small instances of you being able to get a job, but you need like a paper. I know people who are working as food developers, but I mean, they don't know much about software development, right? But because you have a degree in computer science, you have a diploma in computer science, you get the job. And there are people I know who are very good developers, but they lack one thing, the paper. So you have to strike a balance. And I always advise, for me, when I was in school, for a final year project, I didn't want something easy. I said, okay, it's better I pass a very hard project and fail my other courses, because these things I can easily learn them. It doesn't change. But if I can grasp the concept of programming, then it will be better for me. And I think it also applies to the advice to people who are starting in development. Always pick something that will challenge you. Don't pick something that's easy, like, oh, I'll make a calculator, I'll make a simple scan. Try to do something that will challenge you, maybe a login, logout system, a user management, those things that push you out of the way. And when you're in school, of course, time is limited, but still try to find something that you find joy in. Of course, maybe someone had already done it, maybe try to twist it a bit, maybe use a new framework, etc. Yeah, So yeah.
That's interesting. I like that. I like that. We need to come up with a balance between school and meeting with other guys in the industry. And I have one testimony. You know, if not for the community, I could have not been what I'm today. After after joining Unilas, and I met one of the guy who introduced me to DevC. And every time we had meetups at DevC, you could find the guys are talking about new languages. And when you go home, you are a bit, you have some challenges, and you say, "Oh no, I have to learn this and to learn this." Thank God we are what we are today. That's good. Let's move on. Our next question for you, Daniel, is how would you use technology to help your immediate environment?
Okay, so thank God I've been on projects that have had a direct impact on community. So I'll give an example of when I first started working at .com, the project that we were working on, one of them was, I remember it didn't go through, but it was exciting for me because it was the first time that I was trying to apply whatever I had learned to a real life scenario. All that database normalization. Now I understood why we're normalizing databases, right? Like we have to split the addresses from the person and connect them via the person ID, split the contact details from the person's table, like all those things. I was getting to learn them, and it was exciting. So one of the projects that we're trying to do was making an e-waste system, a system where people can pay for garbage on their phones. The drivers have an app where they can see houses that are subscribed and they can pick up stuff following a Google Maps kind of arrangement. It didn't go through. It was pitched to the council. It just died a natural death. The other project that we're thrown on after showing that we could understand and solve issues was Ito. It's still working right now. It's the one that's found by the toll gates, trucks, usually it's for trucks. So the truck companies will pay .com or Probus, so they'll top up their accounts and get cards for all their drivers. So there'll be one big account, maybe it has 10,000 kwacha, and there'll be maybe 5 trucks. And each of those trucks will have a card. So they'll be swiping when they reach the toll gate. They'll just tap that thing on an NFC-enabled Android device, and a receipt will be printed, and the transaction will be sent to the server. So during that period of time, I discovered things like making an app have offline capability where you store the transaction on an SQLite server what that is within the device, the Android device. And when internet connection comes, it does a kind of sync with the data on the server, and that was exciting. So aside that, the next project I worked on was called e-levy. So it was for paying market levy electronically. So it was the first time I went on site of a project that I was working on. We went to, there's a market called Microtilcia Market behind City Market in Lusaka. That's why we're doing the demo version so that the government maybe can get it and use it fully. So marketeers, before we're paying hard cash for their market stand. So marketeers pay a certain levy every day for using the market stand. It's like rent. So instead of them giving that money to the council workers, the government was wanting a system where the money could go into one big account for accountability, and from that money can be distributed among the councils. So we were working on that system. I was, of course, in charge. I was mainly working on the backend, the database, and also maybe correcting some queries, data entry issues. Yeah. So that was what I was really working on, and it gave me a sense of satisfaction. For the first time in a long time, I felt that thing like I'm doing something for the community. So after that, the next system that I worked on was with .com. I think most of my projects I've worked with .com that had like, and I think the biggest from all these projects from where I've worked was the ZRA system. I think that one I could see the results. Like I could see on TV they're talking about, oh, CBU in conjunction with ZRA are launching the first ever Zambian developed tax system, moving away from the Tata developed system. I was like, okay, this is nice. And then when I got to work out,
That's nice.
doing those tasks, like, okay, I'm doing the SQL queries for a report. I have to do this. Like it felt nice. Like even if you are just moving images on the front end, like you'd feel empowered. Because guys, how many people get such a chance in life, right? So one of the system, the other system that I've been working on for the couple of months, I've been with Broadreach, is the smart care system, which is used in hospitals for it keeps it helps the CDC people, PEPFAR people know how if people are taking the ARV drugs, etc. So it makes you feel valuable in society, that whatever you have learned, you're giving back to community, improving the quality of life for people. Yeah, I think, yeah.
That's really interesting, more especially with the ZRA project. It has impacted the life of many Zambians today, and not only Zambians, even foreigners who are in the country, and it has even made as work at ZRA to be much easier. Those are some of the great stuff you have done. Thank you very much for that.
Sweet. You're right. Okay, so next question for you, Daniel. We're pushing the end, so it's just a few more questions. Have you done work outside of being a developer? So, like, have you worked as just an example, like for example, me, I worked as an engineer, electronics engineer for some time. Also, I worked as a translator as well. So I've had a couple of different hats before being a developer. So have you worked as another like job outside of being a developer?
Have I? I think when I was in CBU, the first time I got paid at least some proper money aside from software development was I was brand ambassador for a certain company called Veggie Fresh. So they came up with this idea of selling pre-cut, pre-washed vegetables to students. And I was picked as a brand ambassador because maybe because of the influence I had among the CS students, because at that time I was president for the society, and at church I was chairperson for the poetry group. So maybe that was the reason. So that's the only time. Aside that, to make ends meet at home, to maybe help mom with paying my school fees, my university fees, I had to sell ladies' pants, ladies' makeup powder. Like I even knew where to buy them. I knew the sizes. I knew the shades of powder. It was crazy, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it because I knew that in life, I've always known that in life, sometimes things don't go your way and you can't just start where you want. Sometimes you have to pass through other places to get where you want. And I think that helped me with how to communicate with people, because I had to go door to door, talk to people, tell them, no, this is quality. This is quality, and all those things. Oh, this lipstick, it doesn't give a mess, or this powder, in shed number 3, in number shan, like all those things. And yeah, it helped. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree because I've tried to sell something. Like I think anybody who has tried to sell something, they know that that's one of like the toughest jobs that you have to do. Convincing someone to
Yeah.
buy the product is,
Mm-hmm.
and it's an important skill because you learn how to communicate with people. You read
Yeah.
the body
Mm-hmm.
language. You read like
Yeah.
how to get them to talk to you like straight up without
Mm-hmm.
even like them knowing you. So it's a very
Yeah.
important skill. Yeah, it's good.
Yes, I agree with you, Wilfred. Selling is one skill a lot of developers lack. One thing I've observed also being in the tech industry and also mingling around with guys who are dealing with startup. One thing I realize is most of guys who are in tech,
Yeah.
who are really in tech, they don't have the skill to sell. Sometimes they even come up with very nice products, but these
Yeah.
products they don't sell them properly because they are
Yeah.
lacking the soft skill, let's call it the selling
Yeah.
skill.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
a very nice skill. And for you to earn money, you need to sell.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. True.
everyone must learn how to sell, for us to sell even ourselves. Even when you go for interviews, you have to sell
Yeah.
yourself.
Sell yourself. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Daniel, the next question for you is: could you share about some of the community work you are doing currently? It's being with
Okay.
the dev community or um, the community in general, but more specifically the dev community.
Okay. Let me just so for the things that I've been very passionate about community work, and the first thing that, of course, my community work began when I decided to participate, pick up the mantle as the computer science president or ICTAZ CBU chapter thing. That's when it began, because then I could have influence and influence people, maybe we say, okay guys, let's I'm sure most of you guys, if you used to follow the CBU computer science society, you'd remember there was a time that we were doing this fixing of PCs for people for almost
Mhm.
nothing. Yeah, it was like a fundraiser event. I picked it up from my predecessors, and we decided to scale it because I knew that computer science people are shy people. So I said, okay, let me use my innate ability to connect with people and try to broaden it. And I remember that day we had over 100 computers come in. It was exhausting because we only had a few people who could fix. I couldn't fix, but I could help here and there because I had like the cracks for, oh, I have the Windows 10 crack and etc. So that is where I first began. We tried to write a few proposals to the Ministry of Education, proposing that we could have the CS students go there and try to fix their computers and printers, things didn't work out. I think in one of the posts that I was sharing on LinkedIn, my former boss from CBU contacted me and told me, no, would like you guys to fix the printers, the whole CBU. So they offered us, I think that was the 1,500, which would help us with our next community outreach. And we managed to get them fixed. It was exciting. It was boring, but it was exciting because we're doing something together as a community and for the betterment of something, right? So after finishing, I started working in Lusaka, and I had this brilliant idea of saying, okay, guys, dreams do come true, right? We have to inspire the next generation of dreamers, saying, okay, dreams do come true. You can finish school, you can get a job, you can be what you want. So I decided to start an initiative called Dreams Do Come True Initiative just when I finished school. That's 2018. and I managed to convince my friends, my seniors from CBU. I think one of them is part of Fall Loop organizer Sambwa. Managed to convince Sambwa, a certain girl called Mary, and a few other people to try and do this. So we'd go to school and talk to students and encourage them to believe in the beauty of their dreams, to go after their dreams, etc. And yeah, that was something that was fulfilling. It at least removed my mind off thinking about, oh, database, not connecting, oh, I have an error on my Chanshan, so it helped me. And I also joined during one of these Victor competitions for innovations. I managed to meet a friend called Annie, and I decided to help out build their online presence for her NGO arrangement. She has an NGO that focuses on women's menstrual health, and the focus is in girls who are in rural areas who can't afford sanitary pads. So yeah, that's what keeps me busy. And aside that, I'm actively offering mentorship to my juniors from the CBU Computer Society, and also recently I was asked to help mentor the students at UNZA under the CS department. Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. Most of the time we get a lot of stuff from the community, and few of us give back to the community. A lot of people, after getting from the community, they will start just focusing on their work, and there's
Making
nothing
money.
they are giving back to the community. Making money, and there's nothing they are giving back to the community. We really need to remember where we are coming from.
Yeah.
For you to know what you know today, it's because someone somewhere in the community opened his heart to teach you or to talk to you and inform you about something, and therefore having some activities for young
Yeah.
guys, for example, mentoring, as we've said, is very, very important. Wow, that's really good.
Yeah.
So the last question is, do you have any developers out there that inspire you to keep doing better at what you do? Do you have any
Okay.
developers
So
that give you
I
some?
do. I don't forget people who really made me believe I could do something, people that instilled the confidence in achieving um, my tasks. And the first person that I can remember was a man called Mr. Matengele Kaira from Mopani. He's the IT manager there for the software development Mopani in Zambia. This man, he was very excited when teaching me C#. He was like, this is the future. Because Mopani is like a premium partner with Microsoft, so they only use Microsoft stuff. So I was like, this is the future. He taught me Xamarin. I was impressed. I was like, what? And Xamarin, when Xamarin was coming out, there wasn't Flutter then. The only thing that was close to that was like Ionic, and that was the only thing. And he was like, this is the future. Like, you build one code base, it runs on any device, iOS. Like, what? This is nice. So Mr. Watengele Kaira, I'm still in touch with him. Then when I went to .com, I found two brilliant people. I think they have taught me a kind of humility at work, especially when there are interns around. And one of them is Mr. Mike Muyembe. He's currently the IT country manager for professional insurance. The time I was at .com, he was the CTO. These guys, together with my former Mr. Chimo Kamonde, who was under Mike Muyembe, he was like the lead developer at .com. These guys never got tired of answering my questions, even those rookie questions. Like, those questions you go to ask, and then while they are explaining to you, you don't know where you've missed something. They're like, and then you just pretend like, oh, okay, that's how you do it. And I would always ask those questions till a point where I myself said, okay, let me try something. Because I remember Chimuka would always tell me, Daniel, always try to break something, try to do something like that. It will help you. And I started learning that. And when I joined the CBU Direct project, I found someone called Muma Walia, very good developer. If you ask somebody, she knows him. Very good developer, passionate guy. Like, he's the only guy I think I would chat new tech with without being judged or being looked weird. Like, I'll be there like, Flutter, oh, Flutter is so nice. Oh, talk about the new enhancements. Oh, do you know that Bootstrap has removed jQuery support and stuff like that? Like, would click on that level. So, like I said earlier, when you're starting out, you have to find mentors that are passionate about what they do, the tools they use, and it will help you as a person grow. And you want to find an environment that allows you to break stuff. You push wrong code on production, and maybe something breaks. They talk to you. You try to understand why that wasn't supposed to be the case. You learn stuff. You get to love what you're doing. So yeah, so that's these are the few people that I can speak about right now. Yeah.
Sounds awesome. Sounds awesome. All right. Thanks, Daniel, for taking the time to answer our questions. Thanks, John, for tag teaming on this. I think
Yeah.
I've learned a lot myself. It has been good to set the spotlight on you and to, of course, get to know the person that is Daniel. Yeah, so thanks again for taking the time. I don't know if you have any closing remarks. I'll give you maybe just 30 seconds for closing remarks for John.
Okay.
And yes, we can wrap it up.
Okay, thank you very much, Wilfred and the entire follow-up team. As I mentioned earlier on, this is not a hazard, it's a real opportunity. The team has given me to be one of the guys to fire Daniel with questions. I'm really humbled for your consideration. And I believe together we can do more to give back to the community. As Daniel mentioned it, we need to give back to the community. And from today's chat, I know I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot, and I think I have to apply. Thank you very much, Daniel, for your time. Thank you for your time, and we are really humbled to have you. Hopefully, to have more chat with you in the future. And also, for me, allow me to make a confession. If today I'm learning you, it's because of you. If I remember well, there was a certain meetup at Bongo Hype where you were busy talking about, hey guys, you see, Vue is a PWA, it's PWA, you don't need to reload your page to update.
That sounds like Mulenga.
And then I just said, oh, okay. But then I didn't know what to learn, but today, when I was deciding on which other track to go into, you came in my mind, and then I'm learning Vue. Thank you very much for what you are doing for the community.
Sweet. Awesome.
So anyway, before we go, maybe I wanted to say, if you want to be employed in Zambia, especially maybe in a final school or something, or internship, I always advise people to learn at least Git, learn basic SQL, and I don't know, of course people will be against me if I say learn PHP, but you have a high chance of getting a job if you know PHP or Java in Zambia, or C#, these three. So if you can learn the basics of these and maybe build something that works. And I feel like PHP is a bit easier to learn among all the languages, and it's a bit easier to enter employment with PHP than other languages. So I would advise people to look at Git, look at SQL, to look at PHP, and if they can look at Laravel, that would be cool. And the other thing I want to let people know is that if you can learn WordPress, learn it. I know people who earn proper money than me who knows hard stuff and coding stuff in the IDE and stuff. Someone just drags and drops and everything works, and then you can get paid at the end of the day. So learn WordPress, very important. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, thanks again, Daniel and John. We're just under a minute, so yeah, thanks for joining the chat. So yeah, this is what we had for Spotlight with Daniel for follow-up. So we'll see you all in the next one. All right, guys. See you.
All right, bye. Check me out on Twitter, Daniel Andu. Check me out on LinkedIn. Check me out on GitHub. And yeah, let's get talking.
Sweet. All right, we'll see you guys. Thanks for taking the time.